Good day, everybody, and welcome to the first FIH Junior World Cup show. I'm Marsha Cox, and I'll be your host. Joining me today is Carla Rebecchi, legend of the game from Argentina, with over 300 internationals and over 160 goals for Argentina. Carla, welcome to the show.
Hello, how are you?
Yeah, all good, thank you. And joining us from England, South African hockey player for both indoor and outdoor, Mo Mea. Welcome to the show and thanks for joining us.
Hi, Marsha. Thank you for having me today. Looking forward to the show.
Yeah, well, today we're going to be talking all things Junior World Cup. I'm sure that both of you can reflect back to your days of playing in a Junior World Cup and how much that meant to you. Let's start with you, Carla. Seeing as this is the Women's Junior World Cup, and how, when you look back at your Junior World Cup experience, what type of memories and feelings do you have associated with that?
I think I had really good memories. It was my first international and put Argentina's t-shirt. So I think it's a really great tournament. I have the best memories from it. We played in Chile in that time. My Junior World Cup was in 2005. We finished in the 5th position, but I think it was a great tournament to start getting into international hockey and start developing as a player. So for me, it was an amazing experience, and I had the best memories from it.
Yeah, it really is one of the moments I think that a lot of players reflect back to in their journey to making a senior team. Mo, it being hosted in South Africa, how important is it for this event to be on South African soil?
I think it's very important, not only for South Africa, but the African continent, just to show that Africa can host a major event, major tournament. And it's good that it's the first time ever to be hosted on African soil. I think everyone's excited. There's a buzz. I recall being in South Africa in June last year when the initial planning started, and unfortunately COVID postponed it, but it's great to see that it'll be finally taking place in a few days' time.
Yeah, speaking about COVID postponing it, I think it's quite an emotional time. I think for you guys being closer to players who have been at the Tokyo Olympics, you probably could relate a little bit of the emotions placed on Tokyo, that being postponed and then finally taking place. What type of emotions do you think some of the players will be going through now, Carla?
I can speak for myself. I was preparing for Tokyo, and then I had to resign because of it postponed 1 year, and it was really hard for me because I was one of the oldest, and I had a daughter, and wait for 1 more year, it was really hard. And I think for all the players, it was really hard to be postponed 1 more year. So I imagine that for these players, it has been the same, but I think they are really young, so that's also good because they have a lot of motivation and energy to keep training and prepare their best for this tournament. They have been waiting for it for a long time. So I think the motivation and the spirit they will have is going to be very good because they have been waiting a long time.
Yeah, and I think some of the players are also disappointed that they get to miss out on it because of it being an extra year, like you expressed your own journey and having to choose to miss out on it. I think some of the players didn't have too much of a choice, but with the postponement, we saw some changes to some of the teams. Having said that, we know South Africa didn't make any changes to their teams. Mo, how do you think that that's going to play in their favor?
Look, that could work in their favor, that the group has been together for an extra year or extra couple of months, better connections. They would have prepared to get together for a much longer time. So I think just the cohesion in the team is stronger, and it could work in their favor.
The one thing I wanted to talk about is that I don't know if you guys have the same, but I reflect back to my Junior World Cup and I had the exact same things, that you create a perception of the performance of certain teams based on their senior team's performance. And then you get to the Junior World Cup and it's like, not the same. For some teams it is, but for a large majority, it is not the same. What do you think, if you had any advice, I'd like to ask both of you to give your own answer on this, but if you had any advice for the young players going to this tournament, thinking about perception of teams, what advice would you give them?
I agree with you. Maybe you never know. I think it's maybe a surprise some teams, because you don't know the young teams of the. You always know the senior teams and how it is. Some of them, of course, they still are similar, but some of them you really get a surprise in the tournament. So I think it's really important for the players and for the teams, like go match by match and getting to know the teams there, because you really don't know about them and how it can result there. So I think it's nice to get to meet the teams there, to enjoy. I think it's very important also to enjoy. It's a really nice tournament to play and to enjoy.
I think for some teams, this will probably be the first time they've played on TV, on the international stage, with everyone watching. So to enjoy the moment, and I recall back in 2013 when I played at the Junior World Cup, France being the surprise package, they made it to the final. France were not even on the top 10 in the men's ranking, and they made it. So surprises can happen, and maybe COVID will enhance some surprises. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, speaking about surprises, one of the things that I found quite surprising is in the interviews that we've seen with some of the captains and some of the key players preparing for this tournament, England made a statement that whenever they prepare for events, they prepare to medal, which is quite surprising, because if you look at the history of the Junior World Cup, England have never medaled. So having said that, do you think, Carla, like your experience of English women at the Junior World Cup, are you quite surprised, or you think this is quite motivational?
I think it should be motivational to train for a medal for all the girls. I think I'm used maybe in Argentina that we have that mentality and training for a medal always. Sometimes we get it, sometimes no, but I think it's a nice motivation and for them also.
Yeah, but how do you balance training for a medal with also being realistic of your chances when you have no idea what to expect?
Yeah, I know it's difficult because you don't know what to expect there at the tournament, and that's why in a Junior World Cup it's difficult, because you don't know what are you going to find there, or as we were talking now about the surprises. So I think that you have to go, like I say, like match by match and be easy and calm. Like it's a nice motivation, but you have to go step by step in the tournament.
So looking at some of the teams that we do know information on, I think the one team that we probably know the most pre-tournament is Germany. We know that they took their Junior World Cup squad to India to play in the Pro League. They even traveled with the coach. What are your thoughts on that, Mo, on that tactic to do that, to expose these young players? But also, what do you think that paints in terms of expectation for this event?
I think that's a good shot from the German team or national federation to allow them some game time together, because I don't think many Junior World Cup teams would have been allowed to travel out of the country in order to get some match preparation. So that's a good shout. I think they've also played at a high level Pro League. They would have played against a senior national Indian team, but high level, and they were able to do well. So I think that's a good stepping stone.
Yeah, indeed. And speaking about stepping stones, we know that the Junior World Cup is sometimes a stepping stone for players to make their senior teams. And last week we saw some really exciting games between Germany and Spain. And I know from the women's teams that more than 50% of the players that were on the field have gone through to play. 50% of the players playing at the Pro League have actually played in a Junior World Cup in the past. How do you think that like today's like the expectations of this event and what you think you can do as a team, but how do you also relate it to the expectations on some of the individuals who believe that this is a stepping stone to their senior teams?
Yeah, you'll always have some players that have already come into this tournament with national caps or senior national caps, so there's a bit more pressure on them to perform. That's normal. So they've got to step up. So everyone will be watching them to see how they carry their team and how they help the guys who haven't performed on international stage or senior national team, how they help them overcome. What can I say? It's quite a major event as a youngster. It's your first, I can say, major event if you haven't played senior international hockey. It's a major tournament, so there's a lot of added pressure. And coming from probably the bigger nations, there's expectations of medaling. So that adds to the pressure of it being your first major tournament.
So speaking about expectations, a lot of the teams are expecting to podium. If you had to make your own bets on this, if we had to just take a bet, who would you put your money on, Carla?
Oh, that's difficult, but I don't know. I think that Argentina, well, they won the last World Cup. I think they had a pretty good team, and well, of course, it's my country, so yeah. But I think also Netherlands is a team that always is in a podium or normally in the World Cups. And the third, it would be difficult to say. I think during the Junior World Cups, it's been changing a lot, because when I played and in that time, like Korea won the Junior World Cup, and the year I played, it was Germany and Korea second, and I think that Australia was third, and Netherlands wasn't in the podium in that moment. So the third one, it would be difficult to say. I think I don't know the other.
And you, Mo?
I'm hoping for South Africa to win the tournament, but realistically, looking at the last 3 Junior World Cups, it's been the final between Argentina and the Netherlands. So I would say they would go into the tournaments as favorites, just at the back of the last 3 World Cups.
Yeah, it is quite interesting, because when you look at also the pools and you consider the combinations there, I think South Africa have a definite chance. So also, Mo, I'm with you on our South African heritage. We'll put our money on South Africa. I think that they do have a very realistic chance if I'm looking at the pools and their pathway to a potential podium. I think the Netherlands will be a tough one, as well as Germany, knowing that these players also have a little bit more experience, understanding the pressure. They also did shootouts in India, so they've got a little bit more edge, I think. But like we all know, anything can happen at an event. And I quite like the idea and the tip and advice, and I hope that they are listening, to just play, as Carla said, one game at a time. But in our final minutes of it, I'd just like to also talk about the moment of the week. But before we talk about moment of the week, what are some of the moments that you're looking forward to in the Junior World Cup?
I think that the moments, the final moments, I think are the most exciting. But I really love hockey, and I really enjoy watching hockey. So it's nice to see new players, because maybe then we are going to see them in the senior team. So it's nice to see a lot of new players and remember what it was to be there. I think it would be really nice.
And you, Mo, what are you looking forward to most?
I'm looking forward to lots of goals. I think this Junior World Cup is going to give us lots of goals on the back of the Olympics, where there were numerous goals, high-scoring games. Just the dynamics is changing in hockey, and just watching the next generation continue taking hockey forward.
I'm looking forward to seeing also new names and lots of goals indeed. Speaking about goals, we're going to talk about the moment of the week in the Pro League, where Payet, making his debut for Germany, change of nationality, scores in the first 40 seconds against Spain. So we've got a video and we'd like to show you the highlights.
What has he got after 40 seconds? The answer is, that's what he's got. He even fell over on that flick, and I think it's what gets into a goalkeeper's mind. Absolutely no touch on it from Mario Garlin. It didn't look like the best flick. Out, stop, long drag and ripped around. He's put it straight between his feet.
What a moment. Your first goal for a new international team. And like Simon Mason says, probably not his best flick. Carla, you've been at the top of the D making lots of these types of goals. What do you think after that, after he scores? What do you think goes through his mind?
I think he's a great drag flicker, so I imagine the happiness is for a flicker to score, and maybe it's your first PC. I think that was very early in the game, no?
Yeah, first 40 seconds.
The PC, so I imagine it's nice for anyone that scores so fast, and well, with a new team and everything, I imagine.
Yeah, indeed. It's quite a moment, I think, that you'll remember for the rest of your career, not only making a name for yourself on the world stage as the flicker for Argentina, but then going into a new country and a new team and doing the same. So really compliments to him and his tenacity also to hang in there and play and re-enter the international stage on this high note. And guys, that is a wrap for our first show. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'm looking forward to many more chats on the Junior World Cup. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for having us. It was
thank you for having us, Marsha.